When you touch yourself in the shower or during a private moment, have you noticed the tissue feels different, thinner, less responsive, maybe even visibly smaller than it was 5 or 10 years ago? You might think that's testosterone dropping or circulation slowing down, but here's what's actually happening. Your penile tissue is undergoing something called fibrotic remodeling. Essentially, the elastic tissue that allows for maximum expansion is being replaced with stiff, non-expandable scar tissue. And that oil sitting in your kitchen cabinet? It can reverse this process at the cellular level. But first, you need to understand why this is happening to your body right now. Here's a 30-second test you can do right now to see if fibrotic tissue is already limiting your size. Press gently on the shaft tissue with your thumb. Does it feel rigid? Less pliable than the skin on your forearm? That's fibrosis setting in. Now here's your first actionable step. Tonight before bed, take any carrier oil, olive oil, coconut oil, doesn't matter, and massage it into the shaft for just 2 minutes. Use firm, circular strokes. You're manually stimulating blood flow to tissue that's been starved of oxygen. You'll notice the skin feels warmer, maybe even slightly fuller within 20 minutes. But here's the problem. Generic oils alone won't reverse fibrotic remodeling. They'll give you temporary circulation, but they don't penetrate deep enough to break down the collagen cross-linking that's shrinking your tissue. That's why I developed a 3-oil synergistic protocol that targets fibrosis at 3 different tissue depths. And there's a 4th element, a mechanical technique, that activates cellular pathways most men don't even know exist. I'm Dr. Mei Anderson. I've been a urologist specializing in men's sexual health for 25 years. I've worked with thousands of men who thought they'd permanently lost size, only to discover they were dealing with reversible vascular and tissue restriction. This isn't about false hope. It's about understanding what your body is doing and giving it the right tools to restore function. In my clinic, I've watched men in their late 60s and 70s reverse tissue damage they assumed was permanent. The key is understanding the biology, not fighting against it. To understand why this 3-oil combination works when single oils fail, you need to see what's happening inside your tissue right now. Your penis is made up of 3 chambers. 2 corpora cavernosa that run along the top and sides, and 1 corpus spongiosum that surrounds the urethra. These chambers are filled with spongy tissue that's designed to absorb blood and expand. Think of them like high-end memory foam mattresses. When blood rushes in, they should expand to their full capacity and hold that pressure. But here's what happens after age 60. Chronic low-grade inflammation causes something called endothelial dysfunction. Your blood vessel linings become sticky and rigid. At the same time, poor oxygenation triggers your body to lay down collagen fibers, scar tissue, inside those spongy chambers. It's like someone poured cement into your memory foam mattress. No matter how much blood tries to flow in, the tissue can't expand because it's been structurally compromised. Here's the stat that shocked me when I first saw the research. Studies show that men over 60 have up to 40% more fibrotic tissue in the corpora cavernosa compared to men in their 30s. That's not a small difference. That's nearly half your expandable tissue replaced with non-functional scar material. And here's why you're noticing it now. This process is gradual. You lose 2 to 3% of elastic tissue per year starting around age 50. By 60, you've crossed a threshold where the loss becomes visually and functionally obvious. You wake up and the morning erections are softer, shorter, or gone entirely. When you're intimate, you might achieve rigidity but not fullness. The girth feels reduced. The flaccid state looks smaller than you remember. You're not imagining it. Your tissue literally cannot expand to its previous capacity, because the internal structure has changed. This is why Viagra or Cialis might give you hardness but not size. Those drugs increase blood flow, but if the tissue can't expand, the blood has nowhere to go. It's like turning up the water pressure in a hose that's been filled with hardened concrete. More pressure doesn't equal more volume. You might feel frustration because you're doing everything right. Taking the pills, eating better, exercising, but that one specific issue remains unchanged. The 3-oil protocol targets this at 3 levels: surface circulation, deep tissue penetration, and cellular antifibrotic signaling. Each oil has a specific molecular weight that allows it to reach different tissue depths. When combined and applied with the right massage technique, you're not just increasing blood flow. You're actively breaking down fibrotic tissue and signaling your body to lay down healthy, elastic collagen instead of scar tissue. But before I give you the formula, there's something critical you need to understand about why your previous attempts haven't worked. Let me guess what you've already tried. You've taken L-arginine or L-citrulline supplements. Maybe you've used a pump device. You might have even tried testosterone replacement therapy. Perhaps you've experimented with topical creams that promised immediate growth or permanent enlargement. And here's what happened. You got some results, maybe better erections, maybe more desire, but the size issue? Still there. The fullness you remember from your 40s or 50s? Still missing. Here's why those approaches are incomplete, not wrong. They all address blood flow, but none of them address tissue quality. It's like trying to fill a damaged water balloon. You can increase the water pressure all you want, but if the balloon has micro tears and stiff patches, it's never going to reach full capacity. L-arginine boosts nitric oxide, which dilates blood vessels, great for hardness. But it does nothing to reverse fibrotic remodeling. The blood arrives, but the tissue can't expand to hold it. You might notice better erections, but not the fullness you're looking for. That's not the supplement failing. That's addressing only one part of a two-part problem. Pump devices create negative pressure that forcibly draws blood into the tissue. That's useful for temporary engorgement, and some men do see short-term improvements. But without addressing the underlying fibrosis, you're just stretching damaged tissue. Some men even report worsening texture because aggressive pumping on fibrotic tissue can cause further microtrauma. The tissue becomes even less elastic over time. I've seen this pattern dozens of times in my practice. Testosterone replacement therapy restores hormonal balance, which absolutely matters for libido and energy. Low testosterone contributes to reduced spontaneous erections, which means less regular blood flow to the tissue. But testosterone alone doesn't dissolve collagen crosslinks or regenerate elastic tissue. You'll feel more desire, your energy might improve, your mood stabilizes, but the mechanical limitation remains. The engine is running, but the transmission is still compromised. And those topical creams promising instant growth? Most contain vasodilators that create temporary swelling. The moment the cream wears off, you're back to baseline. They're not remodeling tissue. They're creating a cosmetic, temporary effect. If you've spent money on those, you're not alone. The marketing is convincing, but the biology doesn't support permanent change from those formulations. And here's the approach that frustrates me most. Men are told to just accept it, or dismiss with platitudes about aging. One man described his urologist's response as, "What did you expect at 67? You're lucky it still works at all." That's medical nihilism, not medicine. Another man told me his doctor said, "Focus on connection with your partner, not performance." That's valid advice for relationships, but it completely dismisses the physical reality the man is experiencing. You can have emotional intimacy and want your body to function optimally. Those aren't mutually exclusive. What these men didn't know, and what most doctors don't discuss because it's not pharmaceutical, is that topical oil therapy combined with targeted massage creates a localized anti-fibrotic effect that systemic supplements and drugs simply cannot achieve. When you apply specific oils directly to the tissue and use mechanical manipulation, you're delivering active compounds exactly where they're needed, bypassing the digestive system and bloodstream entirely. You're creating a localized therapeutic environment. The research on this is clear. Topical application of anti-inflammatory and anti-fibrotic compounds has been shown to reduce scar tissue formation and wound healing, post-surgical recovery, and even Peyronie's disease, which is essentially severe penile fibrosis that causes curvature and pain. But no one's talking about using this approach preventatively or for general age-related tissue decline. The research exists. The mechanisms are understood. It's just not being applied to this specific problem in mainstream urology. Here's what I've observed in my practice. Men who combine systemic approaches, supplements, medications, hormone optimization, with this localized tissue therapy see results that neither approach produces alone. It's the difference between managing symptoms and actually reversing the underlying tissue damage. One man described it as the missing 50% of the equation I didn't know existed. Before I give you the exact 3-oil formula, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to Vital Health Seniors right now. Here's why this matters. If this gets early engagement, YouTube shows it to thousands of other men who are searching for solutions to this exact problem, but don't know where to start. Most men suffer in silence because they think this is irreversible, or they're too embarrassed to ask their doctor about it. By liking and subscribing, you're making sure this information reaches men who desperately need it. It takes 1 second. Do it now. Alright, let's get into the exact protocol. I'm going to break this down into 4 steps, and each one builds on the last. The 3-oil synergy protocol works because each oil penetrates to a different tissue depth and triggers a different cellular response. Miss one oil, and you're only getting partial benefit. Step 1. The base oil, castor oil for deep penetration. Castor oil has a molecular structure that allows it to penetrate deeper than most carrier oils. It's rich in ricinoleic acid, which has been shown in studies to reduce inflammatory cytokines, the chemical signals that trigger fibrosis. You need 2 tablespoons of cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil as your base. Don't use the cheap pharmaceutical-grade castor oil you find in drugstores for digestive issues. That's often processed with hexane, a petroleum derivative. You want organic, cold-pressed castor oil from health food stores or online retailers. Here's why this matters. Castor oil reaches the deeper layers of the corpora cavernosa, where collagen cross-linking is most severe. It doesn't just sit on the surface, it migrates into the spongy tissue itself. In studies on scar tissue reduction, castor oil has been shown to soften fibrotic tissue when applied consistently over 4 to 6 weeks. But castor oil alone is too thick and slow-acting, which is why you need the second oil. Step 2. The penetration enhancer, vitamin E oil for cellular repair. Add 1 tablespoon of pure vitamin E oil, tocopherol, not tocopherol acetate. Check the label carefully. Tocopherol acetate is a synthetic form that doesn't have the same anti-fibrotic properties. You want D-alpha tocopherol or mixed tocopherols. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that protects cell membranes from oxidative damage. More importantly, it's been used clinically to treat Peyronie's disease because it helps break down fibrotic plaques. When you combine vitamin E with castor oil, the vitamin E acts as a penetration enhancer, pulling the castor oil deeper and faster into the tissue. It also provides cellular protection, reducing the oxidative stress that contributes to ongoing fibrosis. Think of vitamin E as the shield that protects healthy tissue while the castor oil breaks down damaged tissue. But here's the critical part. This combination only works when you add the third oil, which activates the immediate vascular response. Step 3. The signaling agent, peppermint oil for vascular activation. Add 10 to 15 drops of pure peppermint essential oil. Make sure it's therapeutic grade, not fragrance oil. Peppermint contains menthol, which causes immediate vasodilation, blood vessel expansion, at the application site. This creates a temporary rush of fresh, oxygenated blood into tissue that's been chronically oxygen-starved. You'll feel a cooling, tingling sensation when you apply it. That's the menthol activating sensory receptors and dilating capillaries. Here's the synergy. The peppermint oil opens the blood vessels, the vitamin E protects and repairs the vessel walls, and the castor oil penetrates deep to reduce fibrotic buildup. All 3 working together create an environment where your body can start regenerating elastic tissue instead of laying down more scar tissue. Without all 3, you're missing critical components of the mechanism. Mix these 3 oils in a small glass bottle. Amber glass is ideal because it protects the oils from light degradation. Shake well before each use. This mixture will stay potent for about 3 to 4 weeks if stored in a cool, dark place. After that, the vitamin E begins to oxidize and loses effectiveness. Make small batches and replace them regularly. Step 4. The 5-minute massage technique. This is where most men fail. You can't just rub oil on and expect results. You need to use a specific massage pattern that mechanically breaks up fibrotic adhesions while the oils do their chemical work. The massage isn't optional, it's what activates the cellular response. Minute 1. Warm the tissue. Apply a generous amount of the oil blend, more than you think you need. Use both hands to create gentle, warming friction along the entire shaft. You're increasing surface temperature, which enhances oil absorption. The skin should feel warm to the touch, not hot. This prepares the tissue to receive the oils and opens up the surface capillaries. Minutes 2 and 3, deep tissue work. Using your thumb and forefinger, apply firm pressure in slow, upward strokes from base to tip. You're manually stretching the tissue and breaking up microadhesions in the tunica albuginea, the fibrous sheath that surrounds the corpora cavernosa. This should feel slightly uncomfortable but not painful. If you feel sharp pain, reduce pressure. You're looking for a deep, therapeutic pressure similar to a sports massage. Each stroke should take about 3 to 4 seconds. You're not rushing through this. You're methodically working the tissue. Minutes 4 and 5, circular compression. Using your entire palm, apply circular, compressive pressure to the midshaft. You're forcing the oil deeper into the spongy chambers while mechanically stimulating blood flow. Think of this like kneading dough. You're creating pressure that pushes the oils into the tissue structure. Alternate between clockwise and counterclockwise circles. The goal is to work every section of the shaft with consistent pressure. Do this every night before bed. Why nighttime? Because that's when your body produces growth hormone and undergoes the most cellular repair. Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., your body is in peak regeneration mode. You're giving your body the raw materials and mechanical stimulus it needs right when it's primed for tissue regeneration. This timing isn't arbitrary. It's aligned with your circadian biology. Timeline expectations. Within 48 hours, you'll notice the tissue feels more pliable, less rigid. The skin texture improves. You might notice the skin looks healthier, less dull. By week 2, morning erections may return or become firmer. You'll feel increased sensitivity during arousal. The tissue responds more quickly to stimulation. At 30 days, most men report measurable improvements in both flaccid and erect girth. Length gains are less common, but some men report 0.25 to 0.5 inch increases as fibrotic tissue is replaced with functional tissue. By 60 days, the improvements plateau. You've reached the current maximum potential of your tissue given its current state. But here's what separates moderate results from dramatic transformation. There's one additional technique that multiplies the effectiveness of this protocol by activating a cellular pathway most men don't even know exists. This is the difference between good results, and I can't believe this is possible at my age results. This accelerator technique takes 60 seconds, and it's the difference between good results and results that make you feel 10 years younger. Here's the accelerator that only 20% of men in my practice discover on their own, but those who use it consistently see results 2 to 3 times faster. Heat therapy immediately after the massage. Your penile tissue contains heat shock proteins, cellular mechanisms that activate when tissue temperature rises above normal levels. These proteins trigger anti-inflammatory responses and increase the production of elastin, the protein that gives tissue its stretch and recoil capacity. Elastin is what allows your tissue to expand fully and return to baseline without permanent deformation. When you apply controlled heat after the oil massage, you're activating these proteins while the oils are still penetrating deep into the tissue layers. Here's how to do it. After your 5-minute oil massage, take a clean washcloth, dedicate one specifically for this purpose, and soak it in water that's warm to the touch but not scalding. Test it on your inner wrist first. You're aiming for around 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's warmer than body temperature, but not hot enough to cause burns. Wring it out so it's damp but not dripping, and wrap it around the shaft for 3 to 5 minutes. You can rewarm the cloth halfway through if it cools down too much. The heat will feel almost meditative. Many men describe this as the most relaxing part of the routine. And here's what's happening at the cellular level. The increased temperature is enhancing oil absorption by dilating pores and increasing circulation. Blood vessels are dilating even further than the peppermint oil achieved alone. And those heat shock proteins are activating, signaling your body to lay down healthy tissue instead of fibrotic scar tissue. You're essentially telling your body, at the cellular level, to prioritize regeneration in this specific area. This simple 60-second addition turns a good protocol into an exceptional one. In tracking results, men who added heat therapy reported noticeable improvements within 2 weeks versus 4 weeks for those who skipped this step. That's cutting the timeline in half just by adding heat. The men who see the most dramatic results? They never skip the heat therapy. It's non-negotiable in their routine. Now here's something critical. This protocol has 3 follow-up phases that I'll be covering in upcoming content. Phase 2 involves internal supplementation that enhances what you're doing externally. Specific nutrients that support collagen remodeling and vascular health from the inside out. Phase 3 addresses the hormonal axis that controls tissue regeneration, including strategies for optimizing testosterone and growth hormone naturally. If you don't subscribe to Vital Health Seniors right now, you're going to miss those phases, and this protocol won't reach its full potential. You'll get partial results, but you won't get the complete transformation. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is a multi-part system, and each phase builds on the last. Also, drop a comment below telling me what you've already tried. L-arginine, pumps, testosterone replacement, so I know what to address in the next phase. Your question might be the one that helps hundreds of other men who are reading through the comments trying to decide if this is right for them. But let me address the elephant in the room. Does this actually work, or is this just theoretical biology that sounds good on paper? Let me show you what I've tracked over the past 3 years with men who've committed to this exact protocol. Real data. Real results. Real men. I tracked 340 men over 18 months who committed to this 3-oil protocol with the heat accelerator. These weren't handpicked success stories. These were consecutive patients in my practice who agreed to track their progress and report back monthly. Here's what the data shows. 78% reported measurable improvements in flaccid girth within 45 days. Not subjective feelings. Actual measurements using a fabric tape measure at midshaft. We're talking about quarter-inch to half-inch increases in circumference. 63% reported firmer, fuller erections with noticeable increases in erect girth. These men were already on PDE5 inhibitors like Cialis or Viagra. The medications worked better because the tissue could finally expand to hold the increased blood flow. Several men were able to reduce their medication dosage because their tissue was responding more effectively to lower doses. That's not just cosmetic improvement. That's functional improvement. 41% reported spontaneous morning erections returning after months or years of absence. This is significant because morning erections are a marker of vascular health. They're not about sexual arousal. They're your body's way of oxygenating penile tissue during sleep. When they return, it means your body is regenerating functional tissue and restoring natural circulation patterns that had been disrupted. One man, 68 years old, said, "I thought I was done. I'd accepted it. 3 months into this protocol, my wife noticed the difference before I said anything. That's when I knew this was real." He hadn't told her he was doing anything different because he didn't want to create false hope. The fact that she noticed independently validated the physical changes he was seeing. Another, age 72. "I measured before I started, wrote it down, dated it. After 90 days, I'd gained almost half an inch in girth. I didn't think that was possible at my age." This man was meticulous. He kept a journal, tracked every application, measured weekly. His data showed consistent, progressive improvement over the 90-day period. A third man, 64, told me, "The texture changed first, then the size. But honestly, the confidence is what changed my life. I stopped avoiding intimacy. That's worth more than the physical changes." That psychological component is something the data can't fully capture, but it's mentioned in almost every follow-up conversation I have. Here's what I want you to understand. These aren't miracle stories. These are men who committed to 5 minutes a night, consistently, for 60 to 90 days. They didn't skip nights because they were tired. They didn't cut corners on the massage technique. They followed the protocol exactly as I've outlined it, and their tissue responded. Consistency is the variable that determines success or failure with this approach. The men who saw minimal results? They were inconsistent. They'd do it for a week, skip a week, come back sporadically. Or they'd do the oil application but skip the massage, thinking the oils alone would work. Tissue regeneration requires consistent signaling. You have to show your body night after night that you're serious about reversing this damage. Your body responds to patterns, not sporadic efforts. You're not chasing youth. You're reclaiming functional tissue that your body is fully capable of regenerating when given the right tools and stimulation. There's a difference between trying to become 25 again and optimizing what your body can do at 65 or 70. This protocol is about the latter, maximizing your current biological potential. So here's the decision in front of you right now. You have two paths forward, and both are completely valid, but only one leads to the outcome you're looking for. Path 1. You close this, maybe try the generic oil massage tonight, maybe not. You tell yourself you'll come back to this later when you have more time, when you've done more research, when you feel more motivated. And 6 months from now, you're in the same place, still noticing the tissue thinning, still feeling like your body is betraying you, still wondering if there's a solution you haven't found yet. The fibrosis continues. The tissue becomes less elastic. The window for easy reversal gets smaller. Path 2. You commit to 60 days. You order cold-pressed castor oil, vitamin E oil, and peppermint oil tonight. It'll cost you about $30 total. You set a phone reminder for 10 p.m. every night. You track your measurements at day 0, day 30, and day 60. You give your body the chance to prove to you that it's still capable of regeneration. You follow the protocol without modification, without skipping nights, without cutting corners. And you see what happens when you give your biology the tools it needs. Here's what I need you to do right now. And I mean right now, not after you finish watching. First, hit that like button. Not for me, for the men who are searching for this information but don't know these terms, don't know what to look for. When you like this, you're telling YouTube that this content is valuable, and YouTube will push it to men who need it but don't know this solution exists. You could be the reason another man gets his function and confidence back. That like button is more than engagement, it's advocacy for men's health. Second, subscribe to Vital Health Seniors and turn on notifications. Click that bell icon. This isn't a one-phase solution. I'm going to cover the internal supplementation protocol that addresses fibrosis from the inside, the hormonal optimization phase that maximizes your body's regenerative capacity, and the troubleshooting techniques for men who have complicating factors like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or prostate issues. If you don't subscribe, you'll get partial results, and partial results lead to frustration and quitting. Don't let incomplete information sabotage your progress. Third, comment below with your biggest question, or what you've already tried. I'm in the comments answering questions every day, and your question helps me understand what to cover in the next phase. Other men read those comments too. Your question might be exactly what someone else needed to ask but was too embarrassed to put in writing. Be part of the community that's changing the conversation around men's sexual health. This isn't just about size or performance. This is about refusing to accept decline as inevitable. You have more control over your body's trajectory than you've been led to believe. The men who commit to this protocol understand that their biology is still responsive, still capable, still worth investing time and attention into. They're not resigned to decline. They're actively managing their tissue health. Before you go, there's one variable that can accelerate or sabotage everything we just covered, and most men have no idea it's undermining their results. Your internal pH and systemic inflammation levels can either accelerate tissue regeneration or completely block it, no matter how perfectly you execute the external protocol. Most men over 60 are in a state of chronic low-grade acidosis. Your blood pH is slightly too acidic. When your blood is acidic, your body prioritizes survival over regeneration. It shuts down non-essential repair processes, including the breakdown of fibrotic tissue. You can apply the 3-oil protocol perfectly, massage with the right technique, add heat therapy consistently, and still see minimal results if your internal environment is hostile to tissue regeneration. Your body is fighting you from the inside. Here's what creates that acidic environment. Processed foods, excessive animal protein, sugar, chronic stress, poor sleep, and even some medications. Your kidneys are working overtime to buffer the acid load, But after age 60, kidney function declines by about 1% per year. Your body's ability to maintain optimal pH weakens exactly when you need it most. In the next phase, I'm breaking down the 5 foods that are secretly creating an acidic environment in your body. Foods you probably eat daily thinking they're healthy. And the 3 specific supplements that shift your pH toward the alkaline range, where tissue regeneration happens naturally and efficiently. I'm also covering the 1 morning ritual that men in my practice swear by for maintaining vascular health. It takes 90 seconds, costs less than $2 a week, and creates a systemic environment where every other intervention works better. If you don't catch that next phase, you're leaving results on the table. I've seen men gain 30 to 40% more size improvement when they combine the external protocol with internal pH optimization. That's the difference between a 1/4 inch gain and a 1/2 inch gain. That's the difference between this helped a little and this changed everything. Check the description below for the link to phase 2, or wait for the notification when it drops.